About 360 million rands. That's the price tag on a police health contract linked in testimony and media reports to alleged organized crime connections, now under the microscope at the Madlanga Commission. And the person tasked with overseeing the contract says she was his girlfriend. Not a friend, not a colleague, girlfriend. And now those alleged links to organized crime, raised in testimony and reported by the media, are being picked apart in public at the Madlanga Commission. If this sounds like a Netflix plot, it isn't. It's paperwork, bank transfers, WhatsApps, and people under oath. Hit like, subscribe, and stay with me because we're not going to stop digging. It's February 2026, and South Africa is glued to the Madlanga Commission, announced and established in July 2025 by President Cyril Ramaphosa. And the name dominating the hearings is Mzansi Cat Matlala.
Well, day 55 of the Madlanga Commission will see SAPS Head of Quality Management, Brigadier Rachel Macheng, return to the stand. Brigadier Macheng will continue with her testimony into the SAPS Medicare 24 contract. The Commission is also expecting Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim to begin his testimony. For more on this, let's cross to our SABC News reporter, Kani Mapanga. Kani, good morning to you.
Indeed. Good morning to you, Leanne, and to the viewers at home. We are expecting the Commission to close off this week with the evidence of a SAPS brigadier, that is Brigadier Rachel Macheng, who's at the center of these allegations regarding the 360 million rand Medicare contract for allegedly assisting Mzansi Cat Matlala with that bid from the beginning process when it became available to when he had to secure those suppliers and those payments. Of course, she denies allegedly acting in the interest of the alleged cartel member, and even goes to the extent of claiming that the pair were in a romantic relationship to explain the various payments she received from Mzansi Cat Matlala. However, the Commission is not convinced. We expect more questioning regarding this particular dynamic between the pair and what it really means for the work of the Commission, or rather the extent to which this alleged infiltration took place. Now, because we know Brigadier Macheng is returning to the stand at 9:30 a.m. this morning, and there is a subpoena for businessman Suleiman Karim to honor, it is unlikely that both will be able to continue with their testimony today. It could only be one that will proceed. So it is either rather Brigadier Macheng, who continues from 9:30 a.m. this morning. We expect maybe they'll have to reshuffle Suleiman Karim at 9:30 when those proceedings will start. But we'll see when he takes the stand as to what the Commission will do with these two witnesses with respect to the last day that they have, and having to complete the evidence of Brigadier Macheng by the end of the day, and also having the subpoena, which has to be honored in light of that Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg ruling yesterday, which struck the matter off the roll for lack of urgency with costs by the judgment delivered by Judge Denise Fisher. So we'll see at 9:30 a.m. this morning, but it's likely that Brigadier Macheng will continue and Karim will have to be given another date, but we'll see at 9:30. And of course, in the next hour, Leanne will be able to discuss the kind of revelations, patterns, themes that come out of Macheng's testimony, and whether her version, or rather her claim, that she was an on and off girlfriend of Mzansi Cat Matlala will stand before the Madlanga Commission. All that and more in the next hour.
All right, Kani, thanks so much. Looking forward to that here on Morning Live.
Cat Matlala is a businessman linked to government-facing contracts through companies including Medicare 24 and Cat VIP Security Services. But his name didn't become famous for clean business. In testimony and coverage around the Commission, Matlala has been described as an alleged underworld figure, or crime boss, allegations that have not been tested in court and are disputed. In June 2024, Matlala's company, Medicare 24 Tshwane District, won a tender to provide health services to employees of the South African Police Service, known as SAPS. The contract was worth about 360 million rands. It competed against 21 companies, and it won. But an internal SAPS audit revealed alarming irregularities. According to reports, Medicare 24 did not hold a valid operating license at the time it received the contract. It also failed to disclose key relationships with suppliers. The tender process was overseen by a lieutenant general named Molefe Fani, head of the SAPS supply chain. By May 2025, National Police Commissioner General Fanny Masemola canceled the contract, citing irregularities in the awarding process. By that point, 48 million rands had already been paid out. Later, SAP's procurement chief LT Gen Molefe Fani conceded under questioning that the contract should not have been awarded. Now comes the name that shook the hearings this week, Brigadier Rachel Matjeng. Matjeng is the section head of quality management in the Criminal Record and Crime Scene Management area of SAPS. Her role placed her directly in the oversight of the implementation of the Medicare 24 contract. In other words, she was the one in charge of making sure Matlala's contract was properly executed.
While we were in a relationship, in my own knowledge, he was never arrested nor convicted of any criminal offense, which will have made me doubt or think that he's engaged in any criminal activities. I have never experienced any evil side which is being portrayed currently, and I know him as a humble, respectful, and a romantic person.
Brigadier, when you say in my knowledge, did you inquire? I mean, as far as I'm aware, Mr. Matlala has a long rap sheet. That's what they call it in, I think you understand what I mean. He's got a long record that includes convictions and various arrests, and he was charged several times and charges were dropped. So when you say in my knowledge, what do you mean? Do you mean that you checked or you did not check and therefore you were not aware?
I remember at one stage when I met him, I have checked. I request, because I do not have access to the systems in SAPS, since I am not from the operational environment. I requested 2 people to check for me. One gave me feedback to say he has a previous conviction on, I think it was possession of stolen property, if I'm not mistaken, but that previous conviction was long time ago. And the other one, it was a brigadier that I requested information from her, but she never gave me any feedback. It's only this Lieutenant Colonel that gave me feedback of his previous conviction.
And then, before the commission, Matjeng revealed something that left all of South Africa speechless. She said that she and Vusimuzi, Cat Matlala, had a romantic relationship, that it was on and off, that it went back to 2017, that he would send her gifts, flowers, chocolates, lunches, and money. Listen to that word again. Money. Let's do the math. This is what we'd call the forensic accounting of this story. Between 2019 and 2021, during what she describes as the peak of their romance, Matlala gave Matjeng a total of 113,000 rands. But the numbers changed drastically after Medicare 24 wins the tender. 6 months after the contract, in January 2025, a deposit of 38,000 rands appears in an FNB account. Matjeng had given those bank details to Matlala via WhatsApp. In February, 100,000 more rands. In March, another 100,000. In April, another 100,000. All deposited into the account of a butchery called Osizweni Meat Market, owned by a friend of Matjeng known as Modiegi. The total, after the contract, 338,000 rands. That's 3 times more than everything she received in the previous years combined. Pay attention to that jump. Before the contract, 113,000 in 3 years. After the contract, 338,000 in 4 months. When the commission asked her about these payments, Matjeng's explanation was this: the money was not for her. Matlala owed money to Modiegi for meat he bought for funerals of people in need in the community. The 3 transfers of 100,000 rands were to pay off that debt. Sounds reasonable. Until you look at the details. Why was Matlala sending Madlanga the payment receipts if the money wasn't for her? Why did he use a third person's bank account to hide payments that, according to him, had nothing to do with their relationship? Madlanga explained that Matlala asked for a different FNB account because he didn't want his wife, Cat Matlala, to find out he was sending her money. The commission's chairperson, retired Judge Mbuyiseli Madlanga, didn't buy it. His response was direct. According to reports from multiple outlets, Madlanga said a plausible explanation for those payments was gratification, meaning an improper benefit. He stressed it was the most plausible explanation based on what had been presented to the commission. During the hearing, the judge said something that went viral. He essentially said that she came to the commission with that story about Matlala owing the butchery owner, and that they saw right through it. They saw through it clearly. But there's more. The commission also questioned the nature of that supposed romantic relationship. The commissioners reviewed the WhatsApp messages between Madlanga and Matlala, and they found something striking. There wasn't a single affectionate word. No, my love. No, I miss you. Judge Madlanga pointed out that the messages looked like those of a business relationship, not a couple. Madlanga responded that she was not a romantic person, that calling him Mr. V or Tate Matlala was her way of being affectionate. The commissioner was not convinced, and here comes a detail that social media didn't let slide. According to reports, Matlala called her diva. She called him Mr. V, and according to the evidence presented, they avoided using romantic nicknames so Matlala's wife wouldn't discover the relationship. But at the same time, he was transferring 100,000 rands a month through the account of a butchery. If you're trying to hide a relationship, isn't that exactly what would make it more obvious?
And I'm saying you must then have assumed something about the brother that he's referring to. You may have been wrong in your assumption, but you should be able to answer the question, who is the brother you assumed he's referring to?
I'm trying to do my recollection, commissioners, as we are here, and I did before. It is an unfortunate situation. This type of things, sometimes it is important to engage with the person who sent it. Because at this stage, I am trying to recollect and talk about what Mr. Matlala has sent to me. And then it is unfortunate even when I received this document, still to date, I've never had contact with him directly or indirectly. But I'm trying my level best to try and think who the brother, who was he referring to? I'm trying to think to assist the commission.
General, can I say something? At this moment, you are not assisting the commission, and you're leaving me, I'm speaking for myself, you're leaving me with the impression that you are evasive. You choose not to answer questions that you fear might get you into trouble. Because there is no way somebody can say to you, don't forget. It's a reminder, which means you must have discussed this in the past. And when he reminds you, you don't say, what are you talking about? I'm confused. You give him a thumbs up as if to say, yes, I will not forget. So when you say you assume you can't remember, it gives me the impression that you either don't want to tell us or you are deliberately being evasive. This is not 15 years ago, as Advocate Commissioner Baloyi says. This is a few months ago, in the lead up to an important meeting with General Mkhwanazi.
Commissioners, I am not evasive. The issue that I'm afraid I'll be in trouble.
Now let's talk about the code and the non-arrivals, because this takes the story to another level. In February 2025, Matlala sent a WhatsApp message to Madlanga asking her for a code. That code would allow him to submit claims for what are known as non-arrival fees, meaning billing for police officers who didn't show up to their scheduled medical appointments. Matlala wanted to charge for 337 officers who supposedly didn't attend, out of a total of 553 scheduled. But SAPS records showed the actual number of absences was much lower. Matjeng intervened. According to her testimony, she sent Matlala a list of 144 names. She said she did it to prevent SAPS from incurring an unnecessary expense, since Matlala was going to charge for almost 200 more people than he should have. But Commissioner Ceci Baloyi didn't believe her. Baloyi pointed out that getting involved in that process was not part of her job, that she was not the contract administrator, that the SAPS system would have detected the discrepancy automatically. According to South African media reports, Baloyi told her something devastating. She told her that she had inserted herself into something that had nothing to do with her responsibilities, and suggested that her involvement was because it was Matlala, and that she was deliberately assisting him because of her relationship with him. And Matjeng ended up admitting something that changed the tone of the entire hearing.
We then started talking with Cat and ended having a romantic relationship. We had an on and off cycle relationship. Sometimes we will even get a year break from one another without talking to each other.
Despite using the claim that she was in a romantic relationship with Matlala to explain over 600,000 rand sent to her by Matlala, the commissioners were not buying it.
I must say I've gone through all the chats. Well, people differ, but I find it very, very strange that you don't have or you don't use, not at all, any of the usual terms of endearment that some people, if not most people, use.
Reiterating the Commission's disbelief, Commissioner Khumalo informed the Brigadier that the inquiry would subpoena SAPS records to confirm her involvement or lack thereof.
Brigadier, I think what this commission will do is we will subpoena some of the records of the meetings with Metropolitan and also some of the records leading to the RFQ, and we will establish whether or not you were involved.
Commissioner Sandile Khumalo asked her a direct question. He asked whose interests she was advancing when she gave that kind of advice to Matlala, and Matjeng responded with two words that say it all. She said Mr. Matlala's. Think about that. A brigadier of the South African Police Service, under oath, before a presidential commission of inquiry, admitted under oath that she was advancing Mr. Matlala's interests over those of her employer, SAPS. Separately, Matlala has been described in testimony and coverage as an alleged underworld figure, which he disputes. But this story has yet another twist. The Ozempic. According to what was presented before the Commission, in March 2025, Matjeng asked Matlala to get her Ozempic through Medicare 24. Ozempic is a prescription medication for diabetes that is also used for weight loss. The WhatsApp messages show that Matjeng wrote to him asking about her medication. Matlala forwarded a response saying the Ozempic cost 4,500 rands, but that he could get it. According to evidence presented to the Commission, Matjeng asked Matlala to assist her in obtaining Ozempic through Medicare 24. The WhatsApp messages shown include a discussion of the medication's cost. The Commission also questioned whether she had a prescription, and Matjeng said she would check her records. Now let's zoom out. Because Matjeng is not the only piece of this puzzle. General Lesetja Senona, head of the Hawks in KwaZulu-Natal, the elite unit against organized crime. According to his own testimony before the Commission, Senona gave Matlala legal advice on how to challenge the cancellation of the SAPS contract. He told him to seek legal counsel to challenge the decision. Senona also admitted to having sent Matlala a letter from the police minister about the dissolution of a political assassinations investigation team. Northwest businessman Suleiman Karim, linked to the ANC. According to the evidence presented, Karim allegedly received 1,500,000 rands from Matlala. He is accused of being the link between Matlala and Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. According to witness testimonies, Karim allegedly arranged meetings between the two after the contract was cancelled. And then there's Witness F, a member of the Gauteng Organized Crime Unit who testified under a protected identity. The WhatsApp messages presented as evidence suggest that Matlala asked him for information about a murder case registered in Mamelodi. The witness sent him a screenshot from the SAPS internal case system. This is no longer just an irregular contract. According to what the Commission has revealed, this suggests a network that would connect organized crime with the highest levels of the South African Police Service. In January 2026, President Ramaphosa included Madlanga on a list of 5 senior police officials against whom there is prima facie evidence of criminal conduct. He ordered the creation of a special investigation team. On February 6th, National Commissioner Masemola confirmed that investigation notices for misconduct had already been issued. 1 member is already suspended. 4 more have received notices of pending suspension. And in a parallel development, on that same February 6th, Matlala and 4 co-accused had a pre-trial hearing at the Johannesburg High Court. Now I want you to think about 3 questions. First, if Madlanga knew Matlala was her romantic partner, why did her superior deny her recusal when she allegedly requested it? Who is that superior? And why haven't they testified before the Commission? Second, 338,000 rands in 4 months, deposited into the account of a butchery by a man currently in custody awaiting trial. If this was not gratification, as the Commission suggests, then what alternative explanation is left? Third, how many people inside SAPS knew what was going on and chose to look the other way? Leave me your answer in the comments, because this story doesn't end here. The Madlanga Commission is back next week, and Suleiman Karim has a date to testify in March. Hit like if you made it this far. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming, because in South Africa, every week another domino falls, and we're going to be here to tell you about it.